he was this close to choke slamming me, and I was able at the last second. I felt it. He was about to come. I just yelled, "Khalil!" And he luckily pulled off because he was laughing afterwards. But he had a chance to really do some damage to me.
Coop, I know Washington State high school football pretty well. You were a no-star recruit, and I was a no-star broadcasting recruit that went to Eastern. But I look back at Eastern, and I was a small-town kid, and I couldn't have handled a big school. I just wasn't ready to go to a Texas, whatever, Ohio State. I think back on my Eastern days so fondly. I was in Dressler, one of those circular.
Yep. One of the beer cans.
I was on a great intramural football team. I remember every player on that team. And I think for a lot of people, they look at Eastern out in the middle of nowhere, but it's got great spring, summer, fall weather. It's really good football. And that's where I want to start with you. Like, you didn't get recruited by anybody, even though you had some lineage in your family. Did you go to Eastern thinking, I'm lucky, I'm going to prove people wrong? Do you remember your first month on campus?
Yeah, I do. I definitely remember that first. I got up there in June. I got up there as soon as I possibly could, wanted to be involved in the summer program and learning the offense and doing all the different stuff. So I got up there real early afterwards. And I had an attitude of, I was very grateful for the opportunity. You go from this place where, I walked off the football field my senior year. The last game, we get absolutely stomped by a team out there in Spokane, not far away from Eastern Washington, and get absolutely stomped by them. I walk off that field having just gotten stomped and having no scholarship offers. My last football game, I had put it all out there. I didn't have anywhere. I didn't know if I was going to play in college. So for me, I was grateful for the opportunity that Eastern provided. I was also stepping into a place where there were 3 All-American receivers in front of me. So I was also very excited about the opportunity to learn from some guys that had done some really good stuff as well. So when I got up there, that was really my heart moving up there and moving into that place, moving into Cheney and being a part of that stuff. There's nothing to do. There's not a whole lot to do up there except, you get to play football and be a part of a really good program.
Yeah, there was Zips.
There's Zips. Yes, exactly.
There was Zips. I wasn't old enough to go to was it Shoney's, or there was some bar, but I couldn't go to it until I was like a senior.
Yep.
And I felt really comfortable there because my high school football team had 29 players. I was the quarterback, not very good. But your dad was a quarterback in the NFL, Cowboys, Cardinals. Your grandfather was an offensive lineman. So when I read your story, my guess is you were a late bloomer, that you were athletic, but you popped, put on 15, 20 pounds. That was my guess.
Yep. When
was the moment for you that as a skinny high school player that you kind of did think for yourself, I can make some waves in this sport, and even think maybe Canadian football? I mean, seriously, was there a moment, do you remember thinking, I wonder if I could play professionally?
Yeah, I do. And actually that moment, as crazy as it sounds, that moment came when I was 9 years old and I stepped on the football field for the first time, put the pads on. I was at my brother's coach pitch baseball game. There was a team practicing out in right field. I went and checked it out and said, I want to do this, Dad. Put the helmet and shoulder pads on for the first time playing. I said, this is what I'm going to do. From that moment on, there was never a doubt in my mind that I was going to play professional football. And I did. I weighed in my freshman year. I was 115 pounds. I was 5'4". I put on 15 pounds consecutively every off season. I was put on 15 pounds, grew a little bit here and there. It wasn't until really my sophomore year in college that I really started to feel like I came into my body. But the doubt in terms of my mindset never changed. I got laughed at all the time. I wore ankle weights to school every day because that's just what I felt like I needed to do to make the leaps and bounds that needed to happen. But if you asked me my freshman year, stepping on that scale, if you had asked me what I was going to do, I was going to play running back at USC and follow Reggie Bush, and I was going to go play in the NFL. It was just in my mind and my heart, it was set in stone.
So I have friends in some NFL offices, and I knew the Rams liked you, but I also knew the Chargers loved you. And so from 2 GMs I know, they asked me, they're like, you're an Eastern kid. Do you know this kid? And I'm like, listen, they love him. He's the hardest working guy on the team, totally focused. So the Rams come up on the red field, and McVay's up there. And so the day they're flying in, are you nervous as all get out, knowing you're going to have to perform for Sean McVay?
Yeah, so you're talking about like going to like pro day and like when like they came out for the private workouts. Yeah, so I worked out with the Tennessee Titans. I had a private workout with the Titans, and I had a private workout with the Rams. And when the Rams came out, I was very excited about it. Good nerves, a good nervous, but
Right.
you don't know what they're going to throw at you. You know, when I was with the Titans came out first, I had John Robinson playing DB on me, and I was releasing against the GM and doing stuff like that. So you never know what they're going to throw at you. But I was excited about it. I knew that in my meeting with them at the at the combine and stuff, I knew that there was a cerebral nature to the offense that Sean McVay was running with the Rams that he was bringing in. And I was excited about that. I was excited about being able to step in and do some of the things that they were asking some of their guys to do. So when they came in, I just wanted to be able to be at my peak. And I want to make sure that I could perform for them. But I also knew I actually had to trust in who I was and what I was as a player. And I knew that I was good enough to play in this league. It was just about getting an opportunity.
So you go from Eastern, and then you go to your first camp, and that's a big leap. I mean, it's the Carson Wentz has had to make it from that level. Trey Lance now, you make that leap. So it's hard enough to make the leap from Ohio State to the NFL. Do you remember your first NFL practice?
Yeah, no, I do. Luckily, we were able to go through a little bit of a mini camp first, a little rookie mini camp. But I remember coming out here that first day, and there is an uptick in the speed and the intensity. Certainly, there's not much room for error. And quickly, it was a realization of how important the details are. The details and your technique were going to set you free in this league. And I love that, though. I love the challenge that presented, the opportunity presented for me to be able to dial into those things. Those are all things that were under my control. Technique, being able to be intentional with how I wanted to run my routes, being able to understand the game. Those are all things that were completely under my control. And I knew I could dive into those details and get to the point where I'm processing things quicker and I'm taking advantage of those aspects. I knew that my body was going to follow along after that. So I love that challenge that was presented from day one. Just the importance of all those things and being able to step into that has been great.
Can you name the 6 receivers drafted before you?
I name the 6 of them. I'm probably gonna mess up right near the end there, but I know you had John Ross, you had Corey Davis go, you had Mike Williams go, you had Zay Jones went to Buffalo with Zay. I was a big fan of Zay's coming out. You had Juju, maybe you had Curtis Samuel.
Boom, 6 for 6. You're like Brady. He can name every quarterback that got picked ahead of him. When in the route tree, one of the things I think, and if I'm wrong, tell me, but one of the things I noticed with you, and it reminds me a little of Jerry Rice, is that people always talked about, it's kind of legendary, that Jerry wasn't a burner, but what Jerry did and you do, you don't slow down off your routes. Like you just go the same speed. And it's interesting because it seems like everybody would do that, but it's not true. Mm-hmm. Did you copy, emulate? Is it natural that you don't slow down off a route? And I think that's harder than people think. Where does that come from?
I really think it comes down to this. I was very lucky. My quarterback coach growing up, the quarterback that has to this day thrown me the most passes that I've spent the most time with is my dad. And I had an NFL quarterback be my receiver coach from the very beginning. That's who I learned to run routes from. When you're learning to run routes from a quarterback's perspective, you have no other option except to make the quarterback look good. Because if you don't make the quarterback look good, he's going to tell you something about it. So, everything I did, every route that I ran ever growing up, everything that I've ever learned from the receiver position, I learned through the eyes of a quarterback and how to be friendly, how to be able to give indicator steps and be friendly to a quarterback in terms of the angles that you're coming out with, being a friendly target. All those things came from the fact that I had a quarterback teaching me how to play the position. I was very lucky in that, and just at a very young age, just became intrinsically, that's just how I understood the position. So having that as a foundation was a huge blessing for me.
So then you go to Sean McVay,
Mm-hmm.
and McVay he's so intense. Like he's like a ball of energy. And he says like he loves coaching Cooper Kupp. Has Sean McVay ever yelled at you?
Oh yeah, I get yelled at all the time. That's a great thing too, though. There's he's very hard on the people around. He's also very hard on the people that he has great expectations for. And so certainly there's going to be ways that we see the game in a very similar way, but there's also things that we see differently. We, as a coach, as a receiver, when he's watching the game from a bird's eye view, from his angle, from his perspective, he might see things differently than I do. And this is a game. It's a game of playing in the gray. That's so much of what you have to do in this position. At what we do is playing in the gray and making decisions. Real quick processing. You have to be decisive, and you don't have time to sit there and think about it. You just have to make a decision and go. And so certainly there's times that we see things differently and have to have a spirited discussion about, what the right way is to do it. But the greatest thing here is Sean's humility and his ability to understand that collaboration is, at the end of the day, if we can collaborate together and hear the voices that need to be heard and come to a solution, we're going to be at the right place. It's not about one person making the decision saying we're going this way. It's about figuring out together what's best for us, and then being able to be as efficient and effective as possible as an offense.
Listen, you were good friends with Jared Goff, but it's a business. It happens. Mel Kiper once told me that Matt Stafford was one of the only quarterbacks he'd ever seen that could have gone high school to the pros. Mm-hmm. You could have put him on a roster, had him back up, grow up, mature. Mm-hmm. What was the first pass Stafford threw to you in practice that you were like, whoa? I mean, it's Matt Scott. Yeah. Like he could be a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Like it's rare. It's top 4 or 5 in the league. Could you hear it? Hear the spin? Was there a moment you were like, this dude's got an arm?
Yeah. What's funny? He's bringing this up. I hadn't thought about this, but probably the play that happened during OTAs probably a year ago to the day almost, that it was like the light went on, like, oh, that is what makes this guy great, is it the exact same play that we ran that he no-looked in the Super Bowl. Was honestly the first that was the first time where I went back. I felt what he had done. I'm like, I think he might have just no-looked that one. And I went back and watched on film, and seeing him manipulate people underneath and do what he did with his eyes and being able to throw the ball that he did, it was literally on the exact same play that he no-looked in the Super Bowl. When he had that great one on that last drive, it was literally the exact same play. But yeah, that was the moment where it's like, this guy has something that is different. He's not a quarterback that's reactive. The saying, take what the defense gives you. A lot of the times that's true. He also understands how to say, no, I'm going to dictate where this ball is going and move the people and make sure that I can make the throw that I want to make. That's going to be the big play.
That throw against Tampa, Cooper, like literally the boat's losing water. Like I'm sitting there watching going, guys, come on, get it together. It's like one of those NBA runs. Somebody hit a basket.
I know.
So you, on that play, was that going to be, I'm throwing it to you, period? Or was he watching the break? Because that really was the play of the season for you at that point.
You're saying the last play against Tampa, the deep ball?
Yep.
Down the middle of the field? Yeah, so that play wasn't even called for me. That play was called for Van Jefferson running a little dagger route. I was going to try to occupy the deep safety, try to pull out some guys running down the middle of the field, and Van Jefferson was running a little widened dagger in cut at like 20 yards. I was coming in there, and the ball was going to be coming to him, and we're going to try to get up there, spike the ball, and get one more play. And they end up sliding into that zero late, don't quite hit it how they want to. I feel a safety slide over, and I just hit it and hope that Matthew was going to be able to get that thing up. And what Matthew did, what's not appreciated on that play, Matthew be able to see zero, buy enough time, and he put the ball up when I was about 12, 13 yards down the field, but it wasn't caught until about 40 or 40 plus yards down the field. For him to put the air on it that he needed to allow me to, catch that in stride as long as I was running down the field, it was an incredible throw on his part.
So you're not, a lot of receivers are big personalities, and I've always theorized that you're the first to break the huddle. It's sort of the only position in football that is a little individual. And I think to myself, Cooper Kupp, you have like a linebacker personality. Was there something that did attract you to the individual nature? Was it maybe your dad was a quarterback and you're making all the catches? Because you said you wanted to be a running back at one point.
Yeah, well, I did. I grew up playing running back. My body, obviously, I still had. When I got into high school, I still dreamed of playing running back, but the body just developed differently. Obviously, I kind of was limited in my options there. But I've always just thought, I've always appreciated about football that it is a team sport. It is the greatest team sport in the entire world. And receiver, you're right. Receiver is probably one of the more individual positions, but it relies on 10 other guys to do their job to perfection. All 5 linemen have to pick up the blitz, have to pick up the rush. Quarterback's got to be great with his progression. Running back has to know if he's got any kind of pressure coming, he's got to be able to get back into his, progress into his route to be able to pull coverage. The other receivers that are on the field have to distribute the field the right way. All this has to happen before I get even an opportunity to make a play. So, I've got a great appreciation for me to be able to do what I do. There's 10 other guys that have to do their job at a very high level. And that's what makes this game so good. And so that's why I've got so much appreciation. When I'm asked to block and I'm asked to pass block, when I'm asked to run block, I'm just another cog in that machine for someone else. And so I've just got so much appreciation for what it takes to be effective as an offense and be able to make this thing go so we can put points up on the board and win games.
Well, I mean, you are a blocking receiver as well. But there is a difference between blocking somebody from, Fresno State and the NFC West. Have you ever had a blocking assignment and thought, all right, this is not going great? Who's the strongest guy you've ever put your hands on?
Oh, I've had to, I've had to block Jadeveon Clowney off the edge. I've had to block Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, actually 2 years ago when he was with Chicago, Khalil Mack, I had to block him on the backside a couple times. And there's one play where he grabs me. It was kind of a cutoff block. I wasn't like straight up with him, but I kind of had a cutoff. I cut him off pretty good, and he got me. And he was this close to choke slamming me. And I was able, at the last second, I felt it. He was about to come. I just yelled, Khalil! And he luckily pulled off because he was laughing afterwards, but he had a chance to really do some damage to me. But there's been some guys that I've had to block that are great in this league. But I've also learned some good stuff from our tackles and the guys that have taught me a few little techniques to be able to, weasel my way into, losing with dignity in some situations.
It's interesting. When OBJ came to the Rams, he was really effective in that Super Bowl. He was also really effective immediately. Do you ever, whether it's Robert Woods or OBJ, do you ever watch other guys on film, Coop, and you're just like, I'm going to borrow that, like footwork and angle. Like, do you still, like OBJ, if I said to you, what do you see when you watch OBJ as a receiver?
His patience at the top of the routes, his ability to, no matter what happens, if he loses his release, his ability to be patient enough and trust that the depth of his route and the timing in which he's going to come open within the progression of wherever the play is, his ability to understand that and understand that the patience at the top of the route is going to allow him to win still. It's the biggest thing about Odell. He plays with such confidence and such patience. That's a great thing. That's the position. It is an art form because it's not about just how fast you can run. It's getting open at the right time as well, being in the right place at the right time. And, his ability to get to the top of routes and, understanding how to use his eyes to manipulate guys, face freezing guys. He did an incredible job at that. So, and certainly I want to grab things from guys as much as I possibly can. I've said receiver is an art form. I want to grab as much as I can from other people. It's not all going to work. I can't do the things that Calvin Johnson did. There's some Andrew Hawkins has some stuff that he does that I couldn't do. But grabbing little pieces from each guy and being able to say, how many tools can I add to my utility belt? How many things can I have up, week in and week out to be able to allow me to win? I'm all about that.
So people, you have great religious conviction. You're a small town kid. Los Angeles is a big city with a Kardashian on every block. And you kind of hide. You kind of do your own thing. And, I would never say, Cooper Kupp, Los Angeles. That's where he's going to live the rest of his life. But yet I saw you in a tie-dye shirt somewhere on Instagram, and I'm like, you're living your best life. Like Yakima kid, Eastern Washington kid. I tell friends all the time, I'm like, listen, I've been in small towns. I've been in wet weather. The sun in the city, it's fun. It's like a new chapter in my life. Has LA been easy for you? Has it been culture shock for you? How do you and your wife fit in?
Yeah, well, it's a thermometer thermostat situation. I am going to be who I am. We are about the things that we're about as a family. We're going to be about what we're about. And, I think no matter where you go, we're going to do the things that we like to do and, appreciate the things that appreciate the things that we get to do here in this place and the opportunities that LA provides. Certainly. I mean, we love it here. We love we're foodies. We love the food scene. We love being able to go out and do things. And, usually around 10 o'clock, we start yawning and feel like we got to get into bed. We're past our bedtime. That's been a little different, but we're normal people. And that's the great thing. I don't mean to quote The Office. I feel like I quote The Office all the time, but there's beauty in ordinary things. I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah. Now, I know Yakima. I know Ellensburg. I know Lake Chelan. I've been to all these places. Wenatchee means something to me. I went to Boys State at Central Washington. I went to Eastern Washington. So I kind of know your league. Was Eisenhower in your league?
Yep.
See, look at that.
That's a great job. Great job. Crosstown rival. We don't talk about Eisenhower, but they're in the league.
The fact I know that is embarrassing. Cooper, nobody will ever know Eisenhower High School.
Yeah.
So the summers, so your dad played in the NFL summers. Yakima is hot. Mm-hmm. Did your dad put you on a farm? Did he put you on a tractor? Like, what did you do in the summer?
No, I was so lucky, and I've told my parents this over and over, how thankful I was that they allowed me to not have to work in the summer. They let me go work out. I got to work out and do whatever I really wanted to do, and didn't make me spend 9 hours working somewhere. And not everyone gets that opportunity. That's not missed on me. I had the opportunity to spend the summer getting better at things that I wanted to do. I played in basketball tournaments. I played, I organized 7-on-7 things, and just being a part of playing the game, the things that I want to work on as a football player, as an athlete, as a kid, I got to do those things. And I was so appreciative of my parents for being able to, for allowing me to be able to do that stuff when I know certainly I could have, they could have asked me, hey, there's some things you have to do after work. I did have to, one summer I had to re-roof our house. So there's little things that came up that we had to do, but I was very thankful and very grateful for my parents and allowing me to do that.
So you're known for talking in technical terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's great because most people give cliches and you'll talk in technical terms. So just for fun, and we don't know what play it is,
okay.
I imagine McVay also loves technical terms because you say you're a foodie, you're also a football-y, and so is he. Like, he just loves the game.
Love.
Give me a Rams play, just the name of it, and let me try to figure out kind of what it is.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go to Wymo to bunch right tight. Wymo to bunch right tight. Lamar Slacker. Wymo to bunch right tight. Lamar Slacker.
Okay, timeout. Bunch right. Lamar may mean Lamar Jackson. Slacker. Hold on. Okay, I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
It's a jet sweep for you from right to left.
No, it's not. That's not it. I can't tell you what it is, but that's not it. I can't even really tell you that you're close either. So it was a nice, it was a fun exercise, but it's a good thing. It means that we're doing a good job in terms of how we're naming things. It shouldn't be too clear for you.
Now, who names them? Who gives them the names?
Sean does. Sean, the coaching staff usually does. If new things come up, we get to collaborate a little bit. If we think there's a name for something that kind of hits our brain the right way, he kind of allows a little bit of freedom there. But typically, most of the stuff is coaches usually have the best ideas. They're here the longest. They drink the most coffee. They get to have the best ideas.
When you're over the course of a season, it's a long season. You've got to get along. I mean, at some point, you've got to have some levity in a season because it's really intense. And is Stafford the kind of guy, like, Tom Brady's told stories where he and Gronk joked during a game, or Joe Montana joked at a Super Bowl with John Taylor. He pointed out like a comedian John Candy in the stands. What is Stafford's personality in games?
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty calm demeanor most of the time. He's competitive as can be. I think he really feels himself. He starts, if he tucks the ball and runs a little bit, he's like, don't get up there and try talking to him. He's kind of like feeling himself. You got to kind of let him live in that moment a little bit. He'll call you out, and if you're messing up, like he's on you about what's going on, and he's not afraid to ask you, like, to tell you that he needs you somewhere or needs something out of you. But that's great. It's great. It's what you want from a leader. You want someone who's going to talk straight, shoot straight with you. That's competitive as can be, that wants to win. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that that Matthew Stafford wants to win the game as badly as anyone else on that field. So, he's got a great demeanor about him. I get yelled at all the time by him. There's a couple of times you can go back through games where I took too long on a route and he's over there tapping his wrist, and we got a few things up. And I'm like, I got you. I know.
That's great. Let me think one more question here I had.
Yeah.
Be honest. What did Eastern players think about the red turf, which I donated to?
Honestly, when you're a part of it, when that's just all we loved it. We loved it. It was no different. I go back and look at it now, and it hits you on tape. Like, it's like you got to scoot back away from your computer screen a little bit. But when we're on it, when we're playing on that day after day, we loved it. It's something you take pride in, and it's just home. It's just what you are used to. So, when we were at Eastern, we absolutely loved it.
Yeah. You know what I remember about Eastern too? The phase, because I used to take my classes early in the morning. I do a 9, 10, 11. There'd be nobody in the phase. So I go work out from like noon to 2 before you guys got in at football.
Yeah.
I always tell people this. When the Seahawks used to host camp there, I was in the best shape of my life in college, man. Mm-hmm. It was, people don't understand this open air facility that, like, people, there's a reason the Seahawks picked it. Like, people just don't understand. Eastern's got great workout facilities. Yeah,
we got some good stuff. There's some stuff we can improve on. Do you know the phase is called the phase because it's actually just the first phase of 5 that they were going to do? Like, it's the phase because there was actually 5 buildings they were going to do, but they just run out of money, so it's just phase 1 just became the phase. So,
by the way, Eastern running out of money. We never had any money. That's why I love Eastern.
You're right. They somehow they were ambitious. We're big dreamers at Eastern. Big dreamers. We've always got big plans. The money's not always there, but they're working on it.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, Cooper. You're great. I love watching you play. You're all class, and good luck to you and your family, man. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Colin.